So to separate ethics from morals, it's kind of a hard line to separate. But ethics is really it's separating right from wrong. And right and wrong are subjective variables. What is good? What is evil? How do we make these decisions? How do we determine which course of action we take? So ethics is really studying that. And then morals are really this is where your determination of what right and wrong comes from. So our morals tend to be based and grounded in our values, in our experiences in the world, how we were brought up. A lot of it sometimes has to do with our experiences and our IQ, our ability to reason in the moment. And also, a lot of it has to do with our confidence, our courage. Our courage is a big word. I mean, especially in leadership, courage is not an easy thing to do, but a courageous leader has fortitude, which is courage under duress, meaning like you're in a tough situation and the variables are coming at you like this girl and she doesn't know what to do and she's stuck but she still makes the right decision because her courage is strong enough to say I know this path is the easy path but I'm going to take the more difficult route because I don't think that that's right. That's courage and standing up in the face of others, in the face of ridicule, in the face of people potentially not agreeing with whatever decision you're going to make and continuing down the path of righteous decision making according to your ethics, according to your values, is a leader that knows how to exude courage. And I think that's really the main aspect of this chapter. So I'm just going to talk for a little bit about the science and the slides, if you don't mind. Moral leadership. This is what we want to strive to do. And when I say we should strive to do this, I want you to think about the alternative of working for somebody that is not of moral character, that how a leader who exudes moral leadership is more attractive and people gravitate towards this person, he or she, because of their courage under fire, because of their courage to take these decisions and make a moral grounding for what decisions they make. Is when a leader takes a stance on an issue and convinces others to do the same. Not an easy thing. There's a story I'll tell you about a gentleman that used to work for our organization, and he was older than me. He was 55 years old at the time. I was maybe 30. So I was fairly young, but I was the president of the company at the age of 30, and he worked for me. But he was very talented at what he did. And we had worked together for a couple years at this point, and he was able to get customers. He was able to design things well. He was a landscape designer, and in the process of my relationship building with him, in the process of leading him, he was confiding in me. And he was doing things, I won't explain specifically what he was doing in the office that was significantly not okay. Let's say that he was jeopardizing his relationship with his wife. And he was telling me these stories about it. And I knew who he was jeopardizing his relationship with his wife with. And I don't know what kind of life he lived. And, that's none of my business, but that's wrong. And I'm a leader of this organization. And the fact that he was doing that while I was a leader, I had to do something about it. So obviously I struggle with this decision because it's that tension with performance versus whatever. But his behaviors in other areas manifested other unethical decisions. So I was in a crossroads. If I had to let him go, I was going to lose business and I had to find another leader. And there's a chance we could have lost a lot of money. One of the reasons why I let him go was because I sensed that the people who worked underneath him, there was a junior designer that worked underneath him and looked up to him and admired him and didn't see his decision making as being compromised. They didn't see that this person was unethical or immoral. They didn't have the same moral grounding that apparently at the time I was able to see through it. I knew it was wrong, but the person who worked for him didn't know it was wrong and admired him and followed by his example. And when I noticed that that was the case, that this man had influence and was leading people in the wrong direction, I knew that I had to make a decision. And the decision was tough. So you know, that is what I would consider to be deciding to do the tough thing regardless of what happens. And this is why moral leaders are needed because those decisions are important. So let's fast forward a couple years. It came out very clear that other people knew what was happening. It wasn't just me. And they, after a couple weeks, a couple months, understood why I had to do what I did. And my team rallied around that. We got another leader in place. We were able to really scrutinize this person to make sure they were of good ethical standard. And when, of course, we lost some business, we lost some customers, people were upset. He was in the middle of a couple projects. But because I made the right decision and the momentum around that right decision kind of put us on a trajectory, we were able to win in the long run. And it wasn't an easy win and it wasn't easy to readjust the leadership of that organization, but it needed to happen. And that's why moral leadership is powerful because look at the alternative. Look at the influence that this person was having on other people that worked within the organization. Is that what we want to have happen? What does the end result look like if we kept that going? And maybe my morals and character would have been jeopardized. Who knows? And it would not have been a good situation in the long run. So I think this These 5 ethical leadership behaviors, I'm just going to read just a bullet, are the foundation of what it means to be a moral leader. Be honest and trustworthy and have integrity in dealing with others. Pretty straightforward. Pay attention to all stakeholders. Stakeholders aren't just your customers. Stakeholders aren't just your employees. Stakeholders have to do with the community. The stakeholder could be a shareholder, it could be a customer, it could be a supplier, it could be an employee, it could be um, community members. There's a whole bunch of stakeholders that we have to take into consideration when we're moral leaders. Build community. I have a friend, his name is Guido Trinidad, and he owns a company called Peak 360. It's a CrossFit gym in South Miami. I've known him for a long time. And what he's best at, and he's the gentleman who founded the Wadapalooza, which happened, I think, last weekend. And he's made a big influence on my life in a lot of different ways. But how he defines himself, I brought him on a call with some private equity folks before, and I was trying to formulate a business concept to help him with some idea and try to get him some funding. And I've heard him introduce himself on a multitude of occasions. Sort of what happens on these calls is you introduce one person to another person. The one person kind of takes like 5 minutes telling them like who you are and like what you do and why you do it and all this kind of stuff. And the other person takes 5 minutes and says, well, this is who I am and what I do. And Guido's 5 minute spiel starts like this. He says, I just want to start off by saying I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I'm a community builder. And he goes into the fact that he builds community. He enforces relationships with other people. He's a facilitator of a community. And I think good moral leaders know how to do that well, because without a trustworthy, honest leader at the center of the community that's helping facilitate these relationships, the community is being built on lies. The community is being built on selfishness. So being a good community builder is a big platform for here. The leader helps people achieve a common goal, thereby building a community. Respect the individual. Big deal. People come in all shapes and sizes and forms and religions and colors and creeds and all this kind of stuff. Looking at a person and seeing the inherent dignity and human value in every single person is ultimately, people can see that. We talked last class about how our behaviors matter more than what we say. That matters. We had I'll show you a video real quick, maybe. You'll see the example. I did a dissertation on hiring, hiring people with disabilities from an employer's perspective. And my two sisters have disabilities. My entire life, I'll share my screen in a second. My entire life, I've worked with the Special Olympics, and I've worked with communities where families have children who are disabled. And I saw the amazingness of what these humans had to offer. And the research question really stemmed from, I knew this foundation called the Demoya Foundation. And the Demoya Foundation was really taking people from the community that were capable of doing work. They had some special needs. They had autism, but they had learning disabilities. But the reality, the learning disability didn't get in the way of them doing something, folding towels, cleaning up the garbage, being able to cook, being able to take inventory. There's all sorts of other things that they were able to do, and they would have a job matching program where a coach who knew them, like who knew their skills, would then find an employer who was capable of hiring them to their skills, and you'd pay them to do a particular job. But obviously, it was some nuances to it. And the entire company had to sort of be trained, at least the people who would interact with them had to be trained on who they were, what the program is, why we're doing it. And we had two different people within our organization that we partnered with the Demoya Foundation. And part of my dissertation was studying what the impact was of not them, not the people with disabilities in our organization, but the other employees, the non-disabled employee, and how their organizational citizenship behavior changed based on interacting with these people. Because some of them were like, they've never even messed around with people who had learning disabilities before, and this was new to them. And I was curious about what that impact had on the non-disabled employees' performance. So it was a fascinating study that actually got published. But let me show you the video.
I'll be honest, when I first was approached by Claude about being part with the Demoya Foundation, my HR hat comes on and I'm start thinking about liabilities and what functions the individual is going to be able to make. But my world was opened up once I met Danny, and he's just a ray of sunshine.
I think the general gist of what we do is very important. We serve customers, and our mission is to serve customers. So we would like to grow people with a heart to serve, and we do that through people. And the people in our organization are very important to us. So there was a lot of pro-social benefit that I thought I was doing as an employer, originally saying, oh, this is a good thing, let's bring in the Demoya Foundation, but I was wrong with that intention. And obviously we're filling a job role and a job responsibility. But what blossomed from that and the benefit from working with a person with unique ability is the interaction with the people. Remember, the heart of the organization is our people in our organization who serve customers, of their ability to grow not just as vocational specialists, not just as professionals, but as human beings. We believe in developing character, values, family life. So we want to bring people into this organization and show them all walks of life and help them grow. And what better opportunity to work with a person with a disability?
He immediately befriended me. I think it was like about the second weekend. I didn't bring lunch one day, and I might have mentioned it, and he caught on to that. when he went to have lunch that day, he was like, "Oh, by the way, I left a pizza in the fridge for you," because we were both talking about how, we love pizza so much and it's one of our favorite foods. So that really touched my heart. He shared his lunch with me. On a personal level, we get to have interactions and conversations, and I've really felt drawn to Danny. Just a great connection. He's just an amazing person.
I'm very happy we're doing this. You have no idea what it means to them. I think it hits me personally because I know it's possible because I've seen it with my own son. And he's amazing. Danny's amazing. He reminds me so much of my son. Funny and, polite, good manners, hard worker. So it's nice. It's a good thing.
Seeing his confidence grow and be able to receive that merchandise has helped us tremendously. It changes your mood. I'm so focused on getting some work done, having that, 5 seconds or 10 minutes of interaction with coming into my office, it brings a smile to my face. It's wonderful to see.
It's, aside from working with him, he's a friend. So yes, he helps with the needs in the office, but he's also been a friend. So he does notice, if I have a frown on my face and he immediately, comes talk, and that's always warming. It's nice to come to work and to not only, do your day-to-day job, but have friends. So that definitely changed my perspective and my life.
So if you have the opportunity here at Retropical or with another employer partner to work with somebody with a disability and be around them and understand them and be compassionate, or just be in their life, that is a wonderful blessing and a wonderful opportunity to grow as a human, not just as a professional, but as a person. And I think that's what the Des Moines Foundation does, not only for our organizations, but for multiple other organizations within this community.
It's awesome to be part of a big team like this. Everyone's kind, heart, caring. They love that I'm wanting to take that step forward to improve, to get better. Job Foundation has been amazing for everything they've done with helping me to getting the job to helping me with a job coach. It's greatly appreciated and they're awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, we obviously, when the company changed hands, unfortunately, we weren't able to keep him on. He ended up quitting, and then the other gentleman ended up quitting too. So I think he actually went back about a year ago. He may have went back, but anyways, great opportunity. And again, it's his respect for the individual. I didn't mean to take it down this whole level, but there's unique people that obviously are just as constructive if you can find a way for them. Okay, practice healthy leadership. That's pretty imperative. Let's Whenever we talk about making ethical decisions, it's always good to contrast it with what it looks like working with a leader that doesn't make ethical decisions. My father, one of the people I looked up to in my career, he always paid his subcontractors. He always paid his employees. He never owed somebody money, and he would do anything he could, not take a salary, mortgage his house, whatever he needed to do to make sure that his bills were paid, and he did what he said he was going to do. And I was able to follow that leader throughout my career. I could see he wasn't we argued a lot, we disagreed on a lot of decisions, but I always trusted him. And I think that is so important to think about that. Because if you work for somebody and you have to make tough decisions, like business is hard, leadership's hard, management's hard. Sometimes you're in situations where it's stressful and you have to make tough decisions. But could you imagine being in that same situation where you have to make tough decisions and not trusting the person that was your leader or your boss, and having them demonstrate unethical behaviors? So think about that. That's terrible. So the alternative to that would be to obviously build trust, be consistently ethical, and make the right decision. So what happens when people make bad decisions? Bankruptcy. Bernie Madoff is a major financial figure. When I think about him, just because a lot of people trusted him with their money, what he did is he had a Ponzi scheme where he would borrow money from somebody and say that he was going to invest it. He would actually take money from somebody and he would pay off somebody else. So he was constantly moving money around. And at the end of the day, people thought he had their money and that he was investing their money, but no, he took their money and instead of investing it, paid off other people that he was supposed to give money to. So it was called a Ponzi scheme. And he actually went to jail for a long, long time. He was sentenced to 100 years. He pled guilty. He admitted to the crime, and he passed away in jail because of some of the tough ailments that he had. We had a person work for us that stole $250,000 for us. This was back in, gosh, this was like 2001, long, long time ago. And she went to jail, and she went to jail for a long time, and she actually passed away in jail as well. And that's tough. And she was paying us back like $1,000 a month, and she still owed us a ton of money when she passed away, and we never collected it. So it's not a good situation at all. Layoffs of thousands of workers, not fun. Think about Enron. Diminished trust in stock investments. Discourage talented young people to study business. That's a big one too. Bernie Madoff examples here. Former CEO of Bernard Madoff Investment Securities, convicted of defrauding investors out of about $17 billion over a period of years. sent to prison for 150 years for crimes including securities fraud, international money laundering, mail fraud, and wire fraud. These cases, people are like, "Oh, well, look at this one case of people acting unethical." But what we don't hear about is all of the leaders, and I'm going to speak for them for a second, that are consistently ethical, that are doing the right thing, that are leading business in an integrity-driven manner, and are great leaders. Unfortunately, the news doesn't cover them as much, and we highlight these unethical figures of look at these bad business people. So business people get a bad rap, but I'm a business person, and I made a decent amount of money in my career. Does that make me unethical? No. And there's a lot of people that have done great things and have been very successful in business by operating ethically. Back to that question I think Jose posed at the beginning of the class. Elizabeth Holmes, former CEO of blood testing company, shortcomings and inaccuracies of company's technology were uncovered along with cover up with co-founder exaggerated or lied about effectiveness of technology to investors. Conviction pending, but Holmes could face 20 years in prison. Not fun. Okay, so we're transitioning away from being an ethical leader to this topic called corporate social responsibility. Interesting topic. And there's a few fun topics to think about here and what businesses are really for and who businesses should be serving. And is it a business's duty to be corporately social? Is it a business's duty to have corporate social responsibility initiatives within their company? So they're spending money essentially ensuring that the environment is good, ensuring that their people are well taken care of, making sure that their community is clean, ensuring they recycle appropriately, and potentially even starting their own nonprofit within their business. Is that what companies should be doing? Or should companies and leaders be taking resources that the company has to drive profit, to drive growth? And the more profit you can make, the more tax, obviously, your company pays. And it's the government's job to take care of things. It's not my job. My job is to create profit within my company. And also, when I create profit within my company, more people get paid and there's benefits just from that. Like that's the sole purpose of a company. And corporate social responsibility shouldn't be our issue unless it's mandated or unless there's a codified law around it. So those are the two different camps, if you would. I've been in both camps and I see both perspectives. And I guess I'm somewhere in the middle, but it depends. It's contextual. It depends on the situation. It depends on the industry. It depends on the staff. It depends on what kind of footprint your business has on the environment. If you're in the oil business and you spill a bunch of oil like the big oil spill with BP, you, you better do something about that. And you darn believe that you need to make sure that never happens again and take accountability and responsibility for that. And that's not okay. And I'm all about regulation to ensure that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But if you're a small business or a mid-sized business and you're making money for your payroll and you're paying people 401k and you're paying for their insurance and your company makes say $150,000 at the end of the year, do I think that you should be indebted to your community and you should pay $50,000 into the community for initiatives that other people probably caused? I don't know. Like that kind of toes the line there a little bit where it becomes dicey. And would you do it? Is the question. So we'll talk more about corporate social responsibility. Socially responsible and ethical organizations taking a stand. This is what they do. Initiatives for achieving a socially responsible and ethical organization. Provide strategic leadership of social responsibility and ethics, recognizing the triple bottom line. This is kind of a big deal. You'll hear about it a lot. It's called conscious capitalism. And instead of just capitalism, it's conscious capitalism. You're aware of the bottom line, not just being profit, but it's being people and planet as well. Triple bottom line, three P's: profit, people, and planet. And what they do is they say, okay, last year we made $50,000. And last year we are able to increase our wages by 5%. And last year we are able to decrease carbon emissions by 2%. So it's not just measuring based on profit, it's measuring also based on the impact you had on the people and the impact you had on the planet being equal, all three: profit, planet, and people being equal. Some would argue that if you don't have profit, you can't help the planet and people. But the reality is, if you are making a profit, you better be doing the other two as well. Create a pleasant workspace. This is an easy one. If we're a socially responsible company, we have a workspace that people are psychologically safe. You help build sustainable environments. You engage in social entrepreneurship. What's social entrepreneurship? Anyone have an idea? So entrepreneurship is process of combining a unique set of resources to exploit an opportunity. I mean, you're taking some resources, you're figuring out what works, you look at an opportunity, you take those resources, you exploit an opportunity, and you commercialize something and make profit. So that's entrepreneurship. If you think about social entrepreneurship, you may not have profit as your measurement goal. Sales might not even be your measurement goal. You could be measuring it based on impact. Your social entrepreneurship is something that, let's just ask the question. This is the question that I enjoy very much. Is teaching people how to be entrepreneurs, Is that a pathway out of poverty? Could we use the fundamentals of starting a business, venture creation, building a business, finding a good business model, creating profit for that company? Could that person get out of poverty? And is that sustainable? And so if I was given a $100,000 grant to investigate that question and say, start coaching businesses on creating businesses and measuring the data involved with that, how would I measure my success? How many businesses start? How many businesses are successful? How can you measure it that way? What about how many classes you run? What about how many people the business impacts? How many customers they have? What about how many ideas are put out into the world? The point is, there's a ton of different ways you can measure that impact. But really, what I'm doing is I'm creating value for the social cultural world, for society, and that's social entrepreneurship. And engaging in social entrepreneurship is a social responsibility. It's a corporate social responsibility. If you go to Miami-Dade College, the change making hub, a lot of the projects in the change making hub are around this premise of social entrepreneurship. Engaging in philanthropy, work with suppliers to improve working conditions, establish written codes of ethical conduct. I'll show you one. Sorry about that. It's relevant, I guess, to a degree. So this is, I'll briefly read it. This was the pledge that we had in our company. It's sort of a code of conduct and I guess, but you can get the idea. Read Tropical, a service-minded pledge. I'm on a mission to serve customers. I care about people. It's a privilege to serve. By serving others, I will grow professionally and personally. My service helps not only our customers, but also our team, their families, and the community where we work and live. I will use my unique gifts at work to creatively find ways to improve our ability to serve. It's a joy to work with a community of service-minded professionals who I respect and honor regardless of the circumstance. I do the job to the best of my ability the first time. I'm a leader. I'm a leader with influence regardless of title and position. I positively affect people I interact with in a righteous manner and not towards wrongdoing. Everything I do matters. Everything I say is heard. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of something greater than myself. I will offer my expertise to help ensure the health and success of the organization. I support the mission, vision, values, and goals of this company. I will strive to always do the right thing while on the mission at Reef Tropical. I am service minded. I hereby read and fully agree with the service minded pledge and look forward to assisting the organization in my role. So, one of the things that we would do at our organization is we would have something called the energy bus. It would be a book that we would give everybody. And along with the energy bus, the service minded pledge was a bus ticket. And the bus ticket, this is a couple of weeks after somebody starts, we invite them on board. We invite them onto the bus. And the bus has rules. And the service minded pledge is sort of a part of those rules. And also on the bus, if the bus breaks down, everybody gets out and pushes. There's energy vampires that are no good. If you're an energy vampire, you don't belong on the bus. You're going towards the same destination. The driver of the bus, his or her name is Joy. So we're gonna have fun doing this. It's called the Energy Bus. It's a great book. So I would issue them a bus ticket. I'd give them a service-minded pledge, and I'd write them a personal note saying, "Hey, we just respect you. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to officially invite you onto the bus." So it was a good way to kind of get the people that started working with us onboarded into the way in which we operated as a company. That's established written codes of ethical conduct. Taking a stand on ethical issues, develop formal mechanisms for dealing with ethical problems, accept whistleblowers, provide training in ethics and social responsibility, minimize abusive supervision through the organization. Amazon leadership, ethical behavior, organization performance. Okay, so I think if you really look at the literature and you look at something called a longitudinal study, longitudinal study is a study over time. You're not talking about a study at a particular moment. You're talking about a study that tracked people over time and tracked organizations' performance over time. They looked at the variable of ethical leadership. They looked at the variable of moral conduct. And it tends to be, I'm sure this is not a surprise to you, that the science has said that these organizations tend to be more successful and perform better than others. And a study of 30,000 workers found that ethical leadership was positively related to job attitudes, job performance, and overall evaluation of leaders. So not only does the organization perform better, but also the leaders are evaluated better, and the performance or the jobs, again, job satisfaction, attitudes, and performance of the employees that work for ethical and moral leaders is increased. And we talked about that, but the science also backs that up. Being ethical helps avoid huge fines at being unethical. So you're just by operating with a general ethical code, you're avoiding all of the disastrous things that could potentially happen if you didn't operate by an ethical code. I like this, a virtuous circle. I think this is people talk about who you surround yourself with, and you're the average of the 10 closest friends, this kind of concept, and it matters. This guy, Marshall Goldsmith, who you'll hear me quote often, by the way, Patrick Lencioni was the name of that book I couldn't remember a long time ago. Patrick Lencioni does the Working Genius. But back to my point, there's a gentleman named Marshall Goldsmith who wrote a book called Triggers, and he talks about the environment, and he talks about the way we behave in different environments. So I see Jose, so I'm going to use him as an example. So Jose goes to South Beach, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and he's out there at Club Deep or Club Live or whatever club he goes to, and he's going da 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 da, and he's jamming, he's partying, he's going both hands, and he's having a blast, and that's awesome. And he's living his life, and he's acting a certain kind of way. But right now in class, he's not acting like that. So his environment has changed, and his behaviors therefore changed. And I know that's an extreme example, but if you truly think about it, if you surround yourself with a group of people within a company that are constantly achievement based and constantly speaking ill of, say, they're misogynistic, or they're cursing a lot, like in construction, they use a lot of curse words. That is, whether you know it or not, that is either in your cognitive unconscious or in your conscious, is impacting the way you behave. So what I'm asking you to do is realize that surrounding yourself with a virtuous circle, corporate social responsibility and corporate financial performance may feed and reinforce each other, not only with the company acting the right kind of way, but with the people acting the right kind of way as well. At times, being socially responsible can eat into profits. That is the truth. It does cost money to invest into some of these initiatives. And we're pretty much done. And that was good timing too, because there's 2 minutes left. But I just want to end with some kind of, not to try to be profound, but some plea to you as your professor, as your instructor, as the possibly the one person who ever has you in a leadership class. I assert, no, it's the wrong word. I hope and I aspire that what you learned tonight about what it means to be an ethical and moral leader, it matters. It matters more than any other subject that I'm going to teach you in this class. People want to follow a leader who's always real and not a leader who's always right. Telling the truth, being transparent about your weaknesses, and building a community of people who trust you. And the platform of trust is what's going to allow you to catapult in your business and in your leadership career. So take this conversation seriously. Know that your decisions determine the trajectory of your life. And I will see you all on Monday for our second round of role plays. And I'll stick around for any questions if you guys have some at the end of class.